The semiconductor business is what Qualcomm India would like to concentrate on, and Savi Soin, who's taken over as president, was telling us about that. Now, let's turn to the situation when it comes to the Gaza conflict. There is nowhere to run and there is nowhere to hide. The situation of Gazans currently is looking quite bleak. Red Cross has warned that hospitals could soon turn into morgues. Joe Biden's top official, Antony Blinken, in Israel, has told the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, that America is with you always. But he's also said that it is important to avoid harming civilians.
They prided themselves on their self-reliance, on their ability to defend themselves, even when the odds were stacked against them. The message that I bring to Israel is this: you may be strong enough on your own to defend yourself, but as long as America exists, you will never ever have to. We will always be there by your side. That's the message that President Biden delivered to the Prime Minister from the moment this crisis began. It's the message that I and my other colleagues in the government have delivered to our Israeli counterparts on a daily, even an hourly basis. It's the message that I bring with me to our discussions today, and it's what I'll affirm when I meet with the members of Israel's newly formed national emergency government. We welcome the government's creation and the unity and resolve that it reflects across Israel's society.
Antony Blinken is in Israel, and yes, there is a lot of support coming through for Israel for its fight against Hamas. Israel says not an electrical switch will be turned on in Gaza unless Israeli hostages, are returned by Hamas. And there are signs the conflict is indeed spiraling. Syria saying that Israel struck its airports. Will Israel's siege now help it free the hostages that Hamas is holding? And what would prompt Hamas to leave Israeli civilians unharmed? That's what is coming up for discussion on this edition of Business at 9. But first, here's this report on Operation Ajay. India has launched this operation to repatriate Indian citizens who find themselves stuck and stranded in Israel. What's in store? Here's the report.
India has launched Operation Ajay to facilitate the return of citizens from Israel amidst a full-blown war with the Hamas group in Gaza. As of now, about 18,000 Indian citizens living in Israel, which includes students, caregivers, diamond traders and IT professionals. So how will citizens be brought back? What is Operation Ajay and how big is its scale? Well, after Minister Jaishankar tweeted about bringing back Indians from Israel yesterday, MEA in a briefing too just a short while back also stated that the first flight to Israel will be reaching tonight and is likely to come back to India tomorrow morning from Israel. Government is expecting 230 passengers to come in the first batch and will be arranging more flights depending on the demand from them. It is also keeping a close watch on developments to assist Indian citizens. Remember, India is open to using other modes of transportation as well, but for now is focusing on flights. MEA also stated that it has received requests for facilitating return only from Indians living in Israel and not from Indians living in Palestine just yet. Now, for citizens living in the region and wanting to come back, what do they need to do? They would first need to register themselves, after which they will get messages for subsequent flights. Meanwhile, in Delhi, under Operation Ajay, a 24-hour control room has been set up. And separate emergency helplines in Tel Aviv and Ramallah have been set up to monitor the situation in those war-torn regions. And in fact, citizens over there will be provided information and assistance as well. The phone numbers and email details of the control room that's set up in Delhi are flashing on your screens. And following the escalation in the situation, the Indian Embassy in Israel also issued an advisory asking Indian citizens to exercise caution. Remember, Operation Ajay is technically not an evacuation operation. It is an operation to repatriate its citizens from Israel to India. In fact, India has also undertaken several other rescue operations in the past as well. For instance, Operation Ganga to evacuate Indians from Ukraine, where approximately 20,000 Indians, including students, were stuck. And then there was Operation Kaveri, which involved the evacuation of over 534 Indian nationals from Sudan during a period of civil unrest, and Operation Devi Shakti after the fall of Afghanistan to Taliban. On the whole, India's stance on this war remains crystal clear that it was a terrorist attack and that India has always battled for direct negotiations and living within borders. India also backs the universal obligation to observe international humanitarian law and fight terrorism in all its manifestations.
So that's India's stance and how Operation Ajay is going to really try and save Indians who find themselves stranded while the entire Gaza conflict plays out. Let's get perspective on where things stand on the conflict and what are the possible routes that Israel could take from here. Former Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar is joining us to help us decode that. Ambassador, a very good evening. The crucial question clearly before Israel today is whether they should go all out at war with Hamas with a ground offensive and annihilate the militant group, or should they try and negotiate a deal, perhaps with the help of some mediating countries, to save those Israeli hostages that are reportedly held in different parts of Gaza by Hamas. It is a very difficult situation for any government to be in. How do you reckon that Israel is going to negotiate this kind of dilemma?
Yeah, thank you very much, Vikram. You are quite right. I think it's a huge dilemma that the Israeli government finds itself in. But I think the first thing that we have to notice here is that Israel, the government of Israel, the people of Israel, they have been very severely wounded, psychologically in terms of their self-evaluation, self-assessment. And that the fact that these people, the terrorists from Hamas, they could come across, and the bestiality that they have shown, the utter disregard for any type of human rights in terms of killing babies, killing youngsters, old parents in their homes, in their beds. So I think Israel is like a wounded animal, and it really wants revenge. But against this, you have mentioned also that there are these 100-odd hostages that are there. I think the first, what Israel is doing and what it has been doing for the last 4 or 5 days is basically trying to set up the ground for a ground offensive. And today we have seen that as far as the tanks are concerned, they have been rolling towards the border between Israel and Gaza. And so it is said that it would be, the ground offensive would be imminent anytime it could happen. Now, the Hamas have warned Israel that if, they carry on the air attacks, any air attack that goes unannounced, they will execute one of the hostages. The threat has been made, but they have not done it so far. But I think right now, in my view, the priority is, of course, they would like to get the hostages released. But at the moment, their first priority is, as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said, the defense minister has also said of Israel, that they want to absolutely exterminate the Hamas so that they can, in future, no longer pose a challenge
But beyond the rhetoric, Ambassador Sajjanhar, we are seeing Gaza getting cut off from fuel, from electricity, from water, from medicine. There is this huge humanitarian kind of crisis that we have on hand. So one question is, this is going to help Israel to contain Hamas is one aspect of it, but also importantly, I want to know from you what international law says about humanitarian aid in a war situation like this, where we're seeing large parts of Gaza getting reduced to rubble. You think civilians are going to get a chance for safe passage if this war intensifies, and there is every reason to believe it is?
Yeah, no, definitely it is going to intensify, because that is the way that Israel will handle it and will take it forward, because they are going to, whether it is the tunnels in which the Hamas terrorist extremists, they are the fighters and the warriors are hiding. I think they will try to destroy those. As far as the question of international law is concerned, I think we've heard from the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who has said that, we should definitely provide for human corridors. And going forward, I think there would be some provision for providing some to the ordinary Palestinians. But this is what, even President Biden has said, that Hamas terrorists will use the ordinary Palestinians as human shields and then try to operate from there. So they, whether it is hospitals or schools or educational institutions, Hamas operates from those particular premises, those particular institutions. So I think it will definitely be a challenge as far as Israel is concerned. But going forward, they might consider providing some sort of a human corridor.
Sure.
But I don't think it is going to be, they are quite set in what they wish to do, what they wish to accomplish. We have seen the sort of destruction through airstrikes and missiles that has been wreaked on many of these places in Gaza. And I think it's going to continue for some time.
So what do you think is the end game for Hamas? Optically, the group, a terror outfit, that's the kind of branding it's got. And they're holding on to women and children as hostages now, which makes them look very, very bad. What is their best and worst case scenario right now to exact what they actually set out to do? If there are negotiations, what will they be hoping to get in the bargain?
I think bringing the issue of Palestine center stage and getting something in that regard, meaning that is what the interlocutors might be able to get. Because I don't think that the rights of the Palestinians or some facilities for the Palestinians would be anywhere near the mind of the Hamas terrorists, because for them, their basic objective is to exterminate Israel, to wipe away Israel from the map of the world, and to kill all the Jews. That is their avowed objective, that of, whether it is Hamas or it is Hezbollah or it is Iran. You've heard what the former president Mahmoud Ahmadinejad used to say, that we want to sort of, drive all the Israelis into the sea. So I think that is what they wish to do. The interests of the Palestinians are not anything that are close to their heart. In terms of the worst case scenario for them and the best case scenario for the Israelis is, like Israel has said, the world has been able to completely wipe out the ISIS, Islamic State. Of course, there might be remnants present somewhere in Afghanistan or some other places. But of course, as a formidable force that it used to exist, it doesn't exist any longer. So for as far as Israel is concerned, the best case scenario would be that they completely destroy the Hamas, and whatever little pockets are remaining, they go out, they are completely, they don't stay at the same place, they are distributed, they go to different parts out of Gaza, so that they don't really present a challenge as far as Israel is concerned. As far as the best case scenario for Vikram, what you ask, as far as the Hamas is concerned, is that by the intervention of some of these interlocutors, that they are able to get some sort of a deal, and again, Israel doesn't go all the way. But I don't think that would be forthcoming, because as I said, Israel today is like a wounded animal.
Yes, absolutely. Like you said, you are talking about this wound, which is going to run deep, and revenge would be top of mind. And they have a whole lot of support coming in from the United States. We heard Antony Blinken say that we are with you. They're providing assistance. There is intelligence data, I understand, that is going out from the US to the Israelis. There's possibly even support from its own special forces to Israel. A large US Navy carrier group is positioning itself offshore in the eastern Mediterranean, I understand, as well. This is going to clearly exacerbate the situation, don't you think? Now, if this deal, whenever it has to happen, and we hope it's sooner rather than later, if it has to be mediated for a ceasefire, at the very least, to free those Israeli hostages, to stop the hostilities right now, which countries and leaders do you see best suited right now and willing to take this on? And what is the possible shape of such a deal that could be struck?
Vikram, one thing, I think as far as the aircraft carrier, the US aircraft carrier that is here in the Eastern Mediterranean, and there's another, I understand, another aircraft carrier also on its way that is going to find its way there. I think their basic purpose is to to make sure that there is no intervention by any other powers, like Hezbollah or Iran or Syria, for that matter, into this problem between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. And this is exactly what Antony Blinken also said when he was in his address to the press in Tel Aviv, when he was speaking along with Benjamin Netanyahu. So, of course, they are providing armaments and weaponry to Israel, but the idea of presence of these aircraft carriers, etc., is as an insurance against involvement by any of the other countries in this process. As far as the deal is concerned, I think there are a number of countries that have indicated their interest and willingness to contribute in some way or the other. We have Qatar, which has indicated some sort of an interest. Qatar, we know that as far as negotiations between the Taliban and the United States, Doha was the place where all these discussions took place. So it has a previous experience of that. We know that Turkey has also come forward and said that it would like to mediate between the two. And Turkey has also been doing, as far as the Black Sea grain deal is concerned between Russia and Ukraine and all. Some of those countries might be interested. I think as far as the contours of the deal that might ultimately emerge, I think the bottom line, of course, would be that all the hostages are left off unharmed. I think in the past, what I can see by reading the body language and also the statements, in the past, Israel has been very concerned about the safety of its hostages. Even one hostage has been traded with hundreds of Hamas terrorists who are in prison. But at the moment, the mood seems to be somewhat different in Israel. Mm-hmm. And to me, it appears that for them, revenge comes first. Right. And the safety and security of the hostages is important, it's significant. Yes. But it is secondary to the all-out offensive that Israel wants to undertake against Hamas.
Yes, we're running short of time, Ambassador Sajjanhar, but I can't let you go without checking in with you about India's stance and Operation Ajay. Now, India seems to have done this every time Indians have found themselves stuck in difficult warlike situations, and this is no exception. Tell us how you expect this to play out and how India has kind of made its stance clear on this conflict.
Yeah, I think on the stance on the conflict has been made clear right from the very beginning by Prime Minister Modi when he said that, we fully stand with Israel and we are against terrorism. And then he retweeted it again after his conversation with Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu. Second point, as far as Operation Ajay is concerned, Vikram, I think we need to recognize we have about 20,000 of the Indian nationals in Israel. And not all of them want to come out because I think the situation is very different from the situations that prevailed either in Sudan or in Afghanistan or in Ukraine, because those were really war areas, those were war zones. This is not of that nature. I think the war has really gone now to Gaza rather than in Israel itself. But there might be some people who are old, who are infirm, who are have families, have children, and they would like, they don't like this uncertainty as to what could happen, and they might wish to come back. So it is not getting all the 20,000 from Israel back home, like we did 20,000 plus students from Ukraine. But this is those people who want to come back, who feel somewhat uncomfortable and uncertain staying there. So these are the flights that will be put in for them, and depending upon demand, these flights will be put in. So I think this gives greater confidence, greater certainty. And of course, as far as the Indian community is concerned, again, a recognition that the government of India has their back, that the government of India will be for taking care of them, any challenges, any problems that they face, that the government of India is always there to assist and to support them. So I think it serves a large number of purposes. We don't want to evacuate all of them, but only those who are willing to come, repatriate only those Indian citizens.
Well, Ambassador Sajjanhar, we appreciate your perspective on this ongoing conflict. It's a difficult situation out there. Like you pointed out, Israel is like a wounded animal right now, and revenge would be top of mind, even as they try and save those hostages that have been taken by Hamas. And they are in different parts of Gaza, I'm given to understand. But of course, it's a moving situation, and we'll keep checking in with you for your perspective. Thanks very much for joining us tonight on this edition of Business at 9. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Vikram. Thank you.